It is not a guarantee that there will be spoilers in the 12-team playoff this year. It is entirely possible, though. So, the concept of a spoiler here is a team that capitalizes on an auto bid in the conference championship game and would not have otherwise made the playoff. Winning it and getting the auto bid is the only way they'd make it, and that is absolutely in play. There are actually several teams to which this can happen. Now, given the landscape of the Big Ten and the SEC, I don't think you will have any bid stealers in there. Anybody that makes the SEC or Big Ten championship game, in all likelihood, would make it if they didn't make that championship game. And the only instance in which, and I don't even know that this qualifies because they wouldn't be getting the auto bid, if you had a 10-2 SEC or Big Ten team, like say Ole Miss goes 10-2 and goes to the SEC title game against Georgia or someone, and then loses and they're 10-3, you see that 3 in the loss column. But if the losses are to Alabama and Georgia twice, do you think Ole Miss is getting in the playoff? Yeah, I think they probably are. So I don't think that quite falls into the category of what I'm thinking about here. But the Big 12 and the ACC are ripe to have some bid stealers. Think back to 2022. Do you remember that season? I remember that season. I was there. I was a college football fan, as I have been my entire life. Kansas State makes the Big 12 championship game with a record of 9-3. TCU is 12-0. And what do you know? Kansas State wins the Big 12 championship, and a 3-loss Kansas State team gets to go into the playoff and they would have had a first round bye. Can you imagine? Just as someone who loves the college football regular season more than anything else other than March Madness on the face of the planet, gosh, it's repulsive, but that's the world that we have. So that's an example of a potential bid stealer. Or think Utah in the Pac-12, RIP, from several seasons ago. They, in 2021, went 9-3 in the regular season. And guess what? They would have been in with a first-round bye at 10-3. And you would have had, meanwhile, an 11-2 SEC or Big Ten championship game loser, or an 11-2 ACC championship game loser not get in. But hey, this is the auto bid system. Just remember the vitriol that I have for not just the expanded playoff, but the auto bids especially drive me up a wall. Just remember it right now during the time before the season. Because if this comes to pass, I'm going to come on here and say, I told you so, this is dumb. A lot of you might hear or watch this take and just disregard it. And then you'll come back months later, I can't believe, Spencer, can you believe that this team gets in? Yeah, I can. I think it's great that the G5 is able to make the playoff. I think it is patently absurd that they get an automatic playoff spot. So any G5 champion to me is a bid stealer, just on its surface. That's just what it is. It's a stolen spot. It's a stolen spot. You can have a G5 team that could put together a playoff roster. We saw Cincinnati do it, or a playoff season rather, and have a good enough schedule with good enough wins. Yeah, it's just not a fan. Not a fan. But the winner of the Big 12 championship game could have multiple losses that wouldn't otherwise have gotten in. And in the ACC or the Big 12, a team that has 2 or 3 losses in the regular season is highly unlikely to find themselves making the playoff if they don't win the conference championship and get in. So, few teams that I think are really ripe for this. Certainly you can make the case for others, but off the top of my head in the Big 12, what about a team like Kansas? What if Kansas stumbles early in the season against Illinois? I don't think they will. But what if they stumble early in the season against Illinois? And they have 1 or 2 other losses and they're ranked, let's say 17th going into the Big 12 championship game. Or think about those ACC title games that Pitt or Virginia have found themselves in at 8-4, 9-3. I'm glad we've gone away with divisions, but the same logic is applied to auto bids, and it's all dumb and annoying, and I can't stand it. But in the Big 12 especially, I think that conference, even more than the ACC, is ripe for a bid stealer, because in the Big 12, you have the most exciting conference title chase of any league in the country. That includes the SEC. There are a lot of teams that can win the SEC, okay? Just to name a few, Georgia can win it, Texas can win it, Ole Miss can win it, Bama can win it, LSU, Tennessee kind of fringe on that next tier, Oklahoma kind of as well. But you got 4 or 5 teams at the top that you feel, yeah, okay, those are the bona fide conference title contenders. When you look at the Big 12 has the shortest conference title favorite odd. Or the longest, I think, is the correct verbiage there. I'm not in the betting vocabulary sense mentally just yet right now. But what I mean to say is Utah has fluctuated between like a plus 275 and plus 300 to win the league. You look at other conferences, your conference favorite is under plus 200, but Utah's at plus 300 because that league is wide open. So the chances of an 11-1 Utah, for instance, playing a 9-3 Kansas team, am I foreshadowing? I don't know. You tell me. If you have 11-1 Utah and 9-3 Kansas, that 9-3 Kansas team, or even a 10-2 Kansas team, quite frankly, probably isn't getting in unless they get the auto bid. And if you have an 11-win team on the other side, that can be a bid stealing situation, because the 11-win team should probably get into the playoff as one of the at-larges, because I don't care what Power 4 conference you win 11 games, yeah, you should be in. That there is hardly a Power 4 schedule. I don't even know if there is one that I could look at and say, yeah, if you win 11 games, you're not going to be into the playoff. You're not one of the 12 best and most deserving teams, which should be the criteria. That's how I would assess it. But you could see a team like Kansas do that. You could see a team like Texas Tech sneak up on you, get to the Big 12 championship game, maybe finally have that breakthrough year. Arizona, if I'm wrong on them, they could do that. Kansas State could do it. Utah could do it. Anybody could. The only way the Big 12 doesn't have a bid-stealing moment is if both teams, not just in conference play, but overall record, if both teams in the conference title game have at least 2 losses. If they both have at least 2 losses, there's no bid stealing. They'll just be the one bid leagues that I think they are, the Big 12 and then the ACC. You could have a team in the ACC, like Miami could lose a game to Florida week 1, and they could lose to, any number of teams on their schedule, have 2 losses, and that probably doesn't get you in at 10-2. But 11-2 could, and suddenly if they're playing an 11-1 Clemson or an 11-1 Florida State or a 12-0 Florida State, the way you had in the 2022 Big 12 championship game, yeah, you could see that. What about a 3-loss Clemson? What about a 3 or 4-loss NC State? What if NC State beats Tennessee but loses a couple other games? What if Virginia Tech makes a run? They could all be bid stealers. The possibility, one of you asked me this question, I thought about it and went, man, there could be a lot of teams that could sneak up and be a bid stealer this year where they would win their conference championship, and that's the only way they get in. Hope you like it, because it's what we've got. Everything's great. And that's how we're ending today's show. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time, and until then, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.